We are on campus here in Collinsville, Alabama with legendary head coach Ernie Willingham. And Coach, another year is upon us. You've done the summer workouts, and we talked a little bit about this in your preseason video, but you got one more week, I guess you could say, of fine-tuning before it really starts counting. I mean, every game counts because they wouldn't have a scoreboard if it didn't. But you got a jamboree coming up this week, Coach. Tell us what you want to see out of your guys from this jamboree.
Okay. The jamboree is going to be, we're going to play Pleasant Valley for a quarter of varsity and a quarter of JV, and then Pleasant Valley is going to play Hope's Bluff a quarter and a quarter, and then we're going to play Hope's Bluff. But we want to get our kids, the starters, we want to get them a good series or two, make sure they get on film, and the ones that are going to change out with them, you know, we have more than 11 starters, obviously, on offense and defense. People change in and out. We'd like to get all of them in the first quarter, you know, make sure everybody gets plenty of work, knock the rust off a little, as you'd say, and we want to compete. You know, we want to play hard. I think sometimes last year we didn't play physical enough, and you know we've made that a little bit of an emphasis, and we hope we're a little more physical this year and block and tackle and do some of the basic things. And then in the second quarter of each game, we're going to just make sure we get everybody in and get everybody.
Gotcha, Coach. It's an interesting situation you got in jamboree games because it kind of puts your guys out there on skates, so to speak. You can't really put too much emphasis on one team or another. You're going to face a different team each time. What have you seen from these two teams? I know you've probably watched a little bit of film or touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, we've got tape, and Pleasant Valley and Hope's Bluff both are really big, strong, run-oriented type of teams. We play a lot of those in the regular season.
That's a good look.
You know, we played Pleasant Valley the last few years, and that is a good look for us. Coach Nix does a good job, and those guys are really big and strong and physical, and they try to push you around. And you know, we're going to try to hold our own against them. And Hope's Bluff's a late addition. They got messed up on one of their opening game, and so they're going to come up here and play. And that's a big game too. They're really big and strong, and you know they run a pro eye and a little bit of shotgun stuff, but it's power downhill running football and really physical run to the football on defense. And you know I think that's what we need. We need to find out if we're going to be able to stand up to that.
Yeah, there ain't no doubt. And you're right, Coach Rob. He still runs, you know, the traditional offense he's ran for years, but it's one of those things you got to stop it, even though you may know what's coming. Now that game is going to be hosted right here, right?
Yes, we're going to play here.
There's probably going to be a pretty big gate because those are two teams that travel pretty well. For those who are coming out, you know, what time's kickoff and things like that?
Well, right now kickoff's at 6 o'clock, and we're going to play first against, like I said, against Pleasant Valley, and then they're going to play each other. Those two are going to play each other, and then we're going to finish up with Hope's Bluff the last game. But the state has just sent out, this is Monday before the game, and they just sent out a memo wanting everybody to bump their times back. So I'm in contact with both of them, and we may wind up starting about 7:30 or so, but I'll get that out plenty of time. I just don't know yet. They ain't got it.
Still, yeah, because heat.
Because of the heat, yeah, it's going to be 110, over 110 heat index starting all the way from today through Saturday. So, you know, we got to be careful with practice this week, too. You want to tune in and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, not at the expense of the kids. So we're going to have Gatorade every day, and we're going to practice as hard as we can for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to take a break in the shade and drink Gatorade. And then we're going to practice as hard as we can for 15 minutes, and, you know, we're going to do that for a while until it gets unbearable, I guess.
If you practicing in that heat, it definitely gets more acclimated for when the games do hit. Like you said the other day in practice, that when the sun goes down, it's a little bit different animal than what you're practicing out here in the dead of heat in the middle of the day. Coach, diving into this team specifically, we touched on this again in your preseason. You got a very good quarterback coming back. You got several skill position guys, but those who didn't get to see that video of the day, what do you expect out of your guys this week in this jamboree? What do you want to see from your offense?
The offense in particular, I want to see our offensive line. You know, I want to see our offensive line work together. We've got about 8 or 9 kids that we're going to rotate in there. You know, some of them play defense also, but we got about 8 or 9 that we're going to try to rotate in on offense. And I want to see how they work together and see how they compete. And you know, we got some, like you said, some skill guys that can run around and they get through a hole, but we got to hold up to them. And a lot of the people we play, They put pressure on you in the box, and that's the main thing we're looking for.
Defensively, what do you want to see from your guys? Because this is going to be unique. It's going to be one of these places, like you said, downhill running teams. Tackling's going to be way up high on the list.
It is, and getting pushed around. We lost 3 games last year. We lost to Fife, we lost to Pisgah, and we lost to Faulkland in the playoffs. And all 3 of those teams, Pisgah throws it around a little bit more than that, but they're big and physical. But Fife and Faulkland especially, they took advantage of our youth a little bit and pushed us around some. And we're hoping a year older and a year stronger from the weight room. And, and we've harped on it. If you got something wrong and you bring it out in the open, and that's what we think we've got it out in the open in practice, and we talk about it, and we're calling some kids out, to see if they can get a little bit more physical, and that's what we're hoping.
Who are some of those guys on defense that's kind of like what I like to call war daddies, guys that you can hang your hat on, and when the smoke clears, they're going to be there for you?
Eli Griggs had a really good year for us last year at outside linebacker, and he's going to be a senior, and he does a great job out there sitting that edge and does a good job. And Trey Smith is also going to be a senior, and he plays defensive end, and both those guys are good. Andres Garcia, that middle linebacker, those are the 3 seniors in there, and they did a good job last year. They all 3 started there last year and did a really good job last year, and we're going to lean on them heavy for leadership and stuff. We got some young guys too. Jeremiah Killian, I've talked about some of those other 9th graders, and I hadn't really talked about him a lot yet, but he's going to start at inside linebacker, and he may rotate some at outside linebacker too, but he's another one of those 9th graders that, he'll really get after you, and I'm looking for him to have a big year.
Coach, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the course, but I'm glad you mentioned those 9th graders. Some are comparing this to Caleb Johnson in his top class as far as the potential is there. I know you said you may be down a few linemen in that class, but talk about that group of 9th graders, this young core of guys you got coming up here in college.
You talked about potential, and potential is great. That means you could possibly do something, but we ain't done anything yet.
Sure.
And potential is really good for getting coaches fired sometimes.
That's true too.
So, but we do have potential, and we're excited about it. We're really excited about those guys, and the older guys are doing a good job too. But those younger guys are just talented.
Yeah.
They can run around and they can do some stuff, and we're excited to have them. And they are a little bit like that bunch we had before coming through. We started with a young group of linemen that stuck together, and that's the same thing that's happening here with these guys. Results vary. Every team's different.
Yeah.
Every team's different, and they have to set their own identity and all that kind of stuff. And we haven't done anything yet, so we're going to see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's you're right about potential. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a good thing because they don't know they shouldn't be doing stuff. Like in a good way.
All those kids think they think they can beat Alabama. There's no lack of confidence with those guys, and they go out there, which is a good thing and a bad thing because I started some of those young guys. I started Kyler Bain, for example. He started safety last year, and he'll come downhill and he'll hit you with everything he's got.
Yep.
Okay, and that's good that he's aggressive like that, but he hits a brick wall sometimes. He's playing those senior guys, and he was 14 and turned 15 during the year last year. This year he's going to be 15 and turn 16, and he's still just a young guy coming up and hitting those guys. So, maybe they'll hold up.
The chance of him, your average Oaks Bluff lineman's in the 260 to 280 range, and that's sometimes a difficult task to ask a guy to go up against that.
He's going to hit them like they're a little girl.
I love it. Coach, before we shut this down, we always got to talk about special teams. The reason being is, you talked about potential can get a coach fired, and that is true. But if you overlook the special teams, a lot of times that can slip up and bite you. What do you want to see out of the special teams group this week?
We're breaking in a new kicker. We're supposed to have our kicker back, and he's concentrating on soccer. That's the problem having those specialty guys, I guess. And he's a real big soccer player, and he's going to play travel ball soccer. But we're breaking in a new one, and he's got a really good leg. So we'll see what he can do. And then return guys, we talk about coverage. We got to get those guys going down and covering. But the return guys, we should be pretty fast back there.
Yeah.
And we hope that's going to be an advantage for us. We hope we can take advantage of our speed and get on the corner on some of those guys.
Coach, final thoughts leading into this jamboree?
We don't want to get back hurt.
That's right. That's amazing.
We want to compete, and we want everybody to play just as hard as they can. We want to get everybody on film so we can evaluate, and and we want to come out of here and in as good a shape as we are when we go in, and get ready for the season.
That's right, Coach. I appreciate you. This is it for this version of the Collinsville Panther Coaches Show and with Ernie Willingham. But we want to thank Arnold's Heating and Cooling for this, and they're going to be sponsoring this show each and every week throughout the season with Collinsville here and Coach Ernie Willingham. We're going to shut this one down, and we'll see you guys back here next week.